Welcome. You have reached review time with Imperial, and today's review will be Bel-Air Season 1, Episode 10, the season finale. Let's get into it. So, subscribe to the channel before we get started. Like the video. Now, this was the season finale of a good season, in my opinion. And reason why you hear me saying season 1, there hasn't been any talks yet to bring it back for a second season, but I don't see how. It's so much story to tell. I don't see how you don't bring this back for a second season. It's definitely a hit, and if Peacock hasn't already picked this up for a second season, then I'm pretty sure another streaming platform will pick it up. The cast is great, and they put on a good performance. Let's get into the episode. So you had Hillary with Jazz, and Hillary starting to see where her niche is. Her niche is pretty much with social media, her eye for what's hot and helping other people advance and whatever they got going on. So that's like her niche. She start to see that with Jazz. Of course, Will calls her. She doesn't answer. Then he calls Jazz and pretty much tell her, I know Hillary's there. So he gives her the phone. He wants some advice on how to get back with Lisa. Now, Aunt Viv has had her art gallery, and everybody's watching her art and everything like that. And so from there, Will sees Lisa. He's trying to get back with her. He pretty much, Jazz told him, you need to tell her how you feel. He told her he loved her. She basically said, you basically trying to tell me this just to get back with me. And she keeps mentioning, like a foreshadow, like you had sex with me. So she keeps mentioning that like as if she's gonna pop up pregnant or something. So that's like what I'm thinking, how they gonna play that. I could be wrong, but we won't know till next season. So you go from there, and after that, you have Uncle Phil is asking Carlton, let's go out to track racing, and it'd be good time just for father and son bonding time. Carlton is good with it. So from there, Will leaves for practice. On Will's way leaving from practice, another car drives into the driveway. In walks Lou, Will's dad, and played by Marlon Wayans. So I'm trying not to look past, because we always used to seeing Marlon play like goofy type roles and comedic type roles. So he's playing more of a serious character in this role, and overall he did a good job. It's just hard looking past some after you didn't seen him so many years in comedy films and those type roles. To see him in the serious role is hard to see him past that. Sometimes you could be, if you do a certain role, actors or actresses, for a long period of time, when somebody finally see you in another role, they kind of don't see past that. But nevertheless, he overall, like I said, he did good enough in that role of Lou. And from there, he approached Uncle Phil. They had a talk. Pretty much, he was in jail for 13 years, and he was in jail for 10 years, and then the last 3 years he been trying to get his life together. That's why he didn't come out and reach out to Will. Jeffrey told him that his son needed him, and so Carlton is watching all this. So this sparks in Carlton's mind to go find an envelope. So by that time, Will comes back. Carlton goes in, pretty much tell Will that his dad was there, and gave him the envelope. Told him that he needed to see that. So he read what was in the envelope about his dad. He comes down to approach Aunt Viv and Uncle Phil. They have it out, but they understand Will is frustrated. He pretty much says he want to see him, and he goes and calls his mom. His mom, he has his heart to heart with his mom. Of course, he loves his mom, and they basically gonna leave it up to him to see if he want to see him. So they have that set up. Meanwhile, you got Hillary at her engagement, and the girl that she is linking up with the social media, she giving her good advice on how to react with her Photoshop. I mean, her not her Photoshop, her photo engagement for her social media page, and pretty much told her they need to partner up, and she needs to buy the house for the social media, and basically by buying the house, got to buy out her contract. So she's pretty much looking out for herself, but them two together, they can do some good things. That's what Hillary's thinking. So the girl pretty much agreed with it and said we'll go from there. Meanwhile, Lisa was supposed to meet up with Will, and of course, because of his dad's situation, that's going to get him to stand her up. So she's in her bag and her feeling. Meanwhile, back at the house, Will is waiting to see Lou. But it also shows a scene that Aunt Viv reaches out to Michael Ealy's character with his art gallery, telling them basically they need to partner up so that they could work together and bring in more talent. He's pretty much looking like, well, what do your husband feel about this? And she's like, well, pretty much Phil has got past his differences about everything, and he's on board. Which is a lie, because it never showed a scene that said he was past all that. And maybe Aunt Viv is coming off to be like, she's coming from an innocent place, but we all know as viewers how he feels about Aunt Viv. So Reed pretty much stops stoic and look. Now he got his charm. He's putting his charm on Aunt Viv, which is going to create a problem. We all see that it's going to be a problem. In his charm, she's thinking he's coming from a good place, but his intent is to get with her and or whatever. So he pretty much she came back to him. She could have kept it moving, but she came back to him out of, hey, we could do great things together. I think you got an eye for talent. You got a lot of connections. I'm doing this tour. You know this is going to be a problem going into season 2. Back at the house, Lou shows up. Will approaches him. Now, we all remember the famous scene when Lou popped up on the Fresh Prince of Bel-Air. He went out hanging with Will. They had some fun. And after the fun, he told Will he was going to go back. They were going to do something. Will got his bags all ready to go. Lou popped back up pretty much saying to Uncle Phil, hey, tell Will I got something to do, but I get back with him. And then Uncle Phil pretty much like, Lou, don't do this to him. You know what I mean? He been through too much or whatever. And so, of course, he's like, man, just tell him. And then he said, why don't you tell him yourself? And then Will came down the steps and seen it. And so at this point, he was like, oh, yeah, Will, man, I'm going to get back with you. I'll see you in a couple days. I got to make a run on. And so Will instantly, because he had let his guard down. And then he was calling him dad at first, but then he said, all right, Lou. And so he looked and he stepped off. And then that's that dramatic moment where Will screamed and said that the hell with him. And he was pretty much saying that he got his first couple honeys without him. He learned how to drive without him. He gonna be better father than he ever was. And then he broke down and said, why don't he want me, man? So this is the moment, him and Lou from the Bel-Air show, they didn't have all that hanging out moment too much. It was a moment they just had conversation. They talked about what happened and he flipped it and tried to blame Will's mom. And of course, his Will only knows his mom, so he's not going to stand for anybody bashing his mom or whatever in the matter. So he tried to bash his mom, so Will got in defense mode and start going. So Will raised his voice, he raised his voice back. Basically, they were ready to go at it, and then Uncle Phil rushed in. And he pretty much told him, go about your business, and you go in the ditch and lay in it. So Will's upset. He stepped off. Aunt Viv and pretty much told him he's a boy and he's still learning. He's hurt. He got to get his thoughts through. And Lou stepped off. Will got his stuff and pretty much ran off and left. And everybody's looking for him. Carlton's world, but Carlton slipped something in his pants or whatever, and it's great to start showing the bond form between Will and Carlton. I said this last episode. Will left and everybody's looking for him, so Carlton said he's upset because the dad is keeping stuff from him and the rest of the kids know about what happened with Jeffrey. So the dad, Jeffrey's not answering none of the phone calls, and Carlton said, I'm leaving to go find Will. And when he leaves to go out, he rushes to Lisa's house. Lisa's like, she's still in her own little state. He stood me up. And Carlton's pretty much saying his dad came. And he started breaking down in tears like, I need to find Will. He was there for me when I needed him. And now I need help to find him. I need you to help me. And so Lisa embraced him. Meanwhile, it showed Will at a cliff, like as if he was going to commit suicide or whatever. And Jazz pulled up, and Jazz pretty much talking to him and Will pretty much stated, nobody wants me. And he said it's a whole family full of people that's waiting for you to come back. But you got to make choices on what you want to do. You got a whole world out here. It's about what choice you want to make, and you got every opportunity to basically carve your own narrative. And so that was pretty much the end of the episode. Overall, solid season. Solid season. If I had to rate the whole season out of a 4-star rating system, I'd give it a 3.5 out of 4 stars. We all know the Fresh Prince of Bel-Air was a classic. You could skate on thin ice trying to remake something like that, but because it was always geared towards a more comedic sense, and with this series, it's more grittier, more of a reality in a sense, more relatable, not so comedic. Not saying that the other series wasn't relatable, but it's more taken serious or whatever. So they definitely pulled it off. People will be in tune to see season 2. I haven't heard any reports about it. Subscribe to the channel, like the video. If you're just catching this for the first time, it'll be a playlist on the whole season to catch up on the whole season, or check the other playlists for other series as well. Till next time.